Steve.
Looking for a little sound in me.
There we go.
All right, welcome to the HESN Football Podcast. I'm Jesse Card, joined with Kyle Ball, and we're here to do. We got a couple plugs that we're going in here still, but we're here nonetheless. Okay.
There we go.
There we go. Can you hear?
Yep. Yeah, I can hear.
I can hear.
All right.
Could hear.
All right,
All right.
Well, couple technical issues there.
You know what? What's a show without a couple technical issues? Really, to be honest, I'm starting to like it.
Yep.
Like if everything ran smooth, I'd be bored out of my mind, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
And plus, like, what fun is it, having low blood pressure? Like, who wants low blood pressure?
Wouldn't know. I mean, keep you on the edge of your seat. I mean, we got a couple things to work out in the future for these things, but
well, it's the internet. It's the Wild West, and doing TV shows online, it is what it is. But we are here with the HESN Football Podcast. Can't see who's joining us today, but if you are, welcome to the show. The season of football is done. There's one more game to be played in the football season in Canada.
Well, two more games actually, Jesse. We got the Vanier Cup and we got the 105th Grey Cup here in Ottawa this weekend.
That's a good point. What I was going to say is in Ottawa.
Yeah. Okay. In Ottawa, yeah, we got one more game.
In Ottawa, Sunday. Obviously, we're going to get into the Grey Cup. Want to hear what your guys' predictions are. Anything that we're talking about that you have an opinion on, we want to hear from you. Make sure you put it in the comments of the YouTube video or any one of the social medias. Kyle and I monitor it daily, so we can usually give you some sort of smart-ass response pretty quickly.
Yeah, that's usually me giving the smart-ass answers. I mean, yeah, it is.
Well, you're a smart-ass.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's part of my charm. I mean, just ask. Now we'll not get into the ex-girlfriend's chat here.
Don't ask your ex-girlfriend.
Yeah.
I don't recommend asking your ex-girlfriends anything.
Yeah, exactly.
Clean cut.
Yep. But let's talk about last weekend. I mean, we had a pretty good weekend. We had the first ever Inter-Provincial Bowl Series where we had 3 teams from Montreal: the Chateauguay Raiders, the Sun Youth Hornets, and that was Steve's favorite, the Sun Youth Hornets, and the North Shore Mustangs. We had those 3 teams come in to play the Myers Riders, the Kanata Knights, and the Nepean Eagles, and it was a pretty good weekend for football. I mean,
it was amazing. What do you mean pretty good? It was amazing. There was snow on the field.
Wow, we'll get into that.
Yeah, it looked Canadian. I was just really impressed. I think that's a historic moment for NCAFA and Ottawa football and Montreal football to be able to get together for the first time like that. We heard just great feedback from the Montreal Regional Football League, Quebec Bantam, and Midget leagues.
Yep.
We hosted a great production there, and we were broadcasting the games live with multi-camera and the whole graphics package and everything. So I think we stepped up our game that weekend.
Yep. We had a full production crew there, and we showed up at Carleton at 8:00 in the morning. I think we got there and got in at 8:30. Went live at 10:30 after getting the field ready and getting the production booth ready. And you and Steve did a great job getting all that ready. We had Dan Mooney and Wayne Jacobs doing the broadcast.
Yeah, big shout out to Dan and Wayne. Thank you for your hard work on Sunday.
Yep.
You really professional production
and Khaled and Josh and the gentleman we had operating the scoreboard, and Dan Lachance for doing PA announcing.
It was cozy in that booth, wasn't it?
Well, I mean, I had to take a walk a couple times and just get some cold air. I mean,
yeah,
it got pretty hot up there, but yeah, it was a great time. The only bad part was having to shovel the whole field when we got there because Carleton apparently doesn't have a snowblower for the football field.
Get on that, Carleton. No, we want to thank Carleton for their hospitality, opening it up. Rob Leroy is a great facilities manager there. He's always given us everything we need. So we're going to continue to rent the field there, Keith Harris. I mean, it was just a great weekend. My thoughts on the whole thing are I can't wait for this relationship with this other city and these other leagues to blossom into something that maybe we get some interlock games during the season. I think it gives kids a reason to play NCAFA. It really helps with the competition against high school and at the end of the day, in the fall is football. We want to be playing football in the fall, and we want to give kids a great experience. So the power rankings that we introduced the other teams and everything was definitely a talking point for everyone. So no, it was great. I'm pumped. I'm pumped for next year.
Yeah, it was a great time. Just looking at some of the videos here from seeing this is the Sun Youth game. That I believe that might have been that wasn't Abdallah Traore, but we'll get to Traore in a bit. He had a great game over the weekend.
Yeah, I think he raised some eyebrows. I heard his name just pierced into my brain when I went to sleep that night. All I heard was that name, and I think some of the Carleton coaches were there. You've got to take notice of some of these players that are being called out on the broadcast again and again because they're making plays, and I'm sure they have a bright future. There's a lot of coaches that would probably want to have these guys on their team. Which is the whole point of this thing, right? Giving exposure. I mean, the kids that from Ottawa that got to play in these games have totally raised their stock in my mind.
Yeah, well, looking at some of the YouTube analytics, like I'm always a big numbers guy, and seeing we had people all over the world watching these games over the weekend. We had people in obviously Canada, we had some people in Florida and Alaska joining in the live chat, but we also had people in Europe and Australia, China, Japan, South America. They were all watching this game, and it was interesting to see. So
it was awesome.
Definitely raising our profile and getting out there. And I noticed we got a few Myers Riders people in the chat here. The Shibleys are saying Myers are number 1 and 12-0, and I know they were chanting that after the game.
Well, are we going here right now? Let's talk Myers.
Yeah, let's
talk Myers Riders.
Yeah, let's talk the Myers Riders. Steve, if we could get that graphic up there for Pee Wee. Myers came in and they ran wild. I mean, their player of the game, number 35, Hayden Linz, he had a great game. I think Dan Mooney said he had over 200 all-purpose yards.
Yeah, I mean, this running back, if you didn't know the name before, you know it now. I was so impressed with this Myers team. Like, the one thing these bowl games did, in my opinion, is not only give the teams that won the championship that had, so like this Myers team that went undefeated the whole season, one more week to kind of gel and get together as a group. It was almost like, for those of you that grew up in Ottawa like I did and you did and played in NACAFA growing up, you were representing the entire city. You had them on your back, and we're up in the booth and we're cheering, trying not to make it sound like you could hear us cheering on the broadcast because we didn't want to seem biased, to the Quebec viewers watching. But I mean, we were all Ottawa guys in there cheering the Myers Riders on. You have the president of the Kanata Knights cheering his butt off for the Myers Riders. I've never seen this before, So I think it's united the city a little bit more, these bowl games. And it gives us, a new enemy to and a new adversary to compete against.
Yeah, well, it's that friendly rivalry. I mean, if you look at hockey, there's always the Ottawa-Toronto rivalry or Toronto-Montreal, and that's something that we're trying to establish now is getting a bigger friendly rivalry going with another football organization.
Yeah, and 2 hours down the road, why the hell not? This is perfect thing. So the Myers Riders, man, I saw a lot of heart. I really did. I watched that game. And I noticed that, we can play with anybody. This city can play with anybody. Quebec is supposed to be a really, really great football town, which we know it is, or a province, and we know that Montreal is a big football town. But we're right up there, man. The parity in all 3 games were really good, and Myers took the first game of the day, and I think there was so much pride for these 13, 14-year-olds, given it they're all in the snow. You see the highlights we're watching right now. Really impressed with the quarterback.
Yeah, Shipley was really good for Myers. He had a couple balls that he missed on deep targets, but that could have been a player slipping or
definitely. They weren't afraid to chuck it.
No,
they passed quite a bit.
Well, that was part of the rule. I mean, you had to pass within one of your first 3 downs.
Good point.
I believe only once a team I think Kanata got nailed for that once, Sun Youth got nailed for it.
Okay,
surprising because they were
used to
their rule.
Yeah.
But it is what it is.
So undefeated, like Myers Riders are the only team that won this weekend. Like, they are the best team in Ottawa. They're the best football team in Ottawa.
Yeah, they finished 12-0, and they're the only team in Ottawa that never lost a game.
There you go.
I mean, you look at Bel Air, you look at Cumberland, they lost.
So Myers Riders, congratulations, Pee Wee, are the best football team in Ottawa. Boom.
Yep, we're
Mic
going to say that. And yeah, we're talking about Hayden Lynn's. All the talk going into the game was how can the rushing attack survive without Elijah St. John? And they proved that they have a 2 or 3-headed monster in that backfield.
Yeah, and we talked, the appreciation night last Thursday went to Broadway's. Shout out to Broadway's on Strandherd in Barhaven. Great host for NCAFA and the Nepean Eagles. We went there, had some wings, some meatballs.
Some nachos. They were really good too.
Yeah, some nachos, a few adult beverages perhaps. And we talked to Scott Boxell and one of his assistant coaches, and they were saying that, you know what? We've got a lot of capable running backs, and you're going to see, one guy's injury is another guy's opportunity, and we saw that with Hayden Lynn's. This kid is fierce. He doesn't look that big.
And he was playing both sides of the ball, too. I noticed him on a couple big tackles towards the end of the game, too.
He was, people didn't want any business tackling him, and he was just trucking kids. He was, he really put that team on his back. And delivered a bowl championship. So, I can't wait to see this kid play next year. This guy has just elevated himself to superstar status.
Yep, and no disrespect to the Chateauguay Raiders. I mean, they had a great player here. I think it's number 20 we're seeing here, Mukendi Mabike. He was the player of the game for them.
Over the field.
He was playing both sides as well. I don't think he came off for a single play.
No, and you know what? Sometimes I think you want to play your best players and your all-stars all the way, but the truth is sometimes it can kind of tire them out, and then they're not as effective when they're out there. So maybe that's what happened. I think he was more of a force early on in the game, and then later on it seemed like they just kind of weared him down. Wayne Jacobs was talking about it was a war of attrition. And Hayden Lynn's started to really rack up the yards in the second half. Maybe that's because they had their all-star players playing a little bit too long.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the halftime score, and Chateauguay was up 14-0 at halftime, and then Myers came out and exploded for 2 touchdowns within the first 5 minutes of the second half, and then just ran away with it from there.
Yeah, it was was that your favorite game?
No, my favorite was the Midget game.
Okay,
North Shore Nepean.
See,
but we'll get into that later.
This was my favorite game. I think it had the most exciting plays. I think. I think the comeback that they experienced in the second half was really exciting and made for great football. And I was just really proud to see, without knowing what to expect, to see a good football game. It kind of it put to rest some of my fears that maybe we weren't up to this level of football, and maybe it was going to be a little bit of a self-discovery, that we were going to go through. But no way. The parity is there. Football is just as good here in Ottawa as it is in Montreal, and I mean, what more can you say about the Myers Riders Pee Wee team?
They're, like you said, best team in football in Ottawa here.
So Scott Boxell takes over as president, and then he delivers an undefeated season with his own kid on the team. And then they go to the Bowl Series and they pull off a huge win for Ottawa. You got to shut me up, Kyle.
Yeah, not much more you can say. I mean, only thing I can say is let's move on to the Bantam game there. And Steve had his favorite team, Sun Youth Hornets, came in.
So why was Steve's favorite team? Steve, why did you like the?
I don't think he has a mic today, but
okay. So why do you keep saying that?
He just picked them as his favorite team. He liked the logo, and he said it was almost sort of a cult.
Okay,
just by the name,
right?
And
he's
Sun Youth, and
yeah, I mean, basically, like somebody said it. I mean, I don't think this is negative to say in any way, but it's like a boys and girls club having a football team. Yeah,
it's a community outreach program, and they do great work with inner city youth in Montreal. And what I've heard is a pretty bad neighborhood. And they have a basketball team, a football team, and they just let the kids come and play the sports.
And we went through on a tour when we went to meet with some of the executives from the Montreal leagues, and you go through there, and it looks like it looks like the gym from Rocky 3 when he had to go back to LA and like relearn how to fight. If you haven't seen Rocky, any of the kids watching this, like I know it seems like an old movie, especially number 1. It was like in '76. But watch it. It's like one of the best movies. It's Oscar award-winning movies, and Sly Stone is the man. But they're definitely a tough team.
Yep.
And you know what? Let's call it what they whooped them.
Yeah.
They whooped them.
Yeah, looking at the score here, 31-6 for Sun Youth was the final. It was interesting. The broadcasters gave the player of the game for Sun Youth to the quarterback, Iloa Latondres Reginbald, rather than Abdullah Traore, even though Traore scored 3 touchdowns, a pick 6, and 2 rushing touchdowns.
Why do you think that is?
I believe they said it was because of his game management skills, not making any mistakes and knowing when to get rid of the ball, knowing where his guys always are.
Right, so maybe he's not making the as sensational plays, but he's not making any mistakes either. But so more of a balanced, football play. I will say, Kanata definitely, we're not up to par in that game, but I will say it's a long season.
Yep.
They had a phenomenal season and a huge upset the week before. I almost wonder if injuries could have been. We know that injuries were an issue.
We know Connor Vanier, the quarterback for the Kanata Knights, had to come out at halftime, did not return. And
he's also the punter, and they had a punt blocked, I believe.
Yep.
So there were some injury issues, and who knows? We don't know anything about the O-line or D-line. Possibly there's a few kids missing or dinged up there. But also I think maybe my feeling is that they kind of experienced the apex of their season the week before with the championship, and then it was hard to kind of get the motor back running at that RPM.
Well, it wasn't as big an upset as some people may play it off to be. Yes, they did. Yes, Kanata came in, played a great game against Cumberland, but they were still a 7-1 football team in the regular season.
They were. Yeah.
It's not like the Nepean Eagles who were 4-4 and beat the Bel Air Norsemen, but
I mean, having said that, they did play Cumberland earlier on
and lost by 20.
Yeah, they didn't seem like they could be even keep up with them and couldn't play with them.
Yep, that's fair. The player of the game for Kanata was Kasim Ferdinand. Originally running back, got forced into quarterback, still made a couple great plays, scored a touchdown right at the end. And
let's talk about him. He performed amazing in the first Cumberland game. He obviously was a huge factor for the A-Cup championship. And then once again, the heart of these Knights players was on display.
Yep.
Because even when they were down, even when they didn't have the tools, they had the injuries, they were still fighting right to the end.
Yep.
And you saw Ferdinand just, score that last heroic touchdown. And
I think it was on 4th down, and he sort of scrambled around and then ran to the outside and just barely made it into the pylon.
And I feel like that's almost setting up next year.
Yep.
For the first time that I've been around the league since I played in the league, and maybe even when I did play in the league as a kid, I feel like NCAFA has come out of the season, and it's not like this huge gasp for air, we just got through with the scraps, I truly feel that this bowl game has brought some energy to the end of the season and some momentum moving forward.
Yep. And one of the things going back to Kanata may have reached the apex of their season beating Cumberland, that the 2-week break might have had something to do with it too. Just because
I think volunteers and coaches are tired.
Yeah, for sure. Especially since we sort of added this in mid-season.
Right.
It was something some parents might not have been expecting. Some players, coaches, volunteers.
A lot of questions what is this? What are we doing?
Yeah.
So you're right. I think the expectation of it next year and knowing what to expect, the travel component going to Montreal next year for these is going to add some excitement. But both games, Myers obviously with the win, and also Kanata showed a lot of heart.
Yep.
These kids were playing right to the end, so congratulations to Kanata on a phenomenal A-Cup championship year, a good representation for Ottawa in the bowl game, and it's kind of good that we didn't just completely run away with all 3 games, because now it adds some hype for next year.
Yep. All right, and now let's talk about the midget game, my personal favorite game, just because of the huge David versus Goliath story coming in. We had the North Shore Mustangs; they were 11-1 coming in. Nepean Eagles were 6-4 coming in, and again, we had people on social media saying, "Oh, they're going to lose 600-0 or 56-6 or an insane score." But let's face it, the Nepean Eagles showed a tremendous amount of heart in this game, and the final score was only 18-10. It was a 1-possession game the whole day. North Shore scored a late touchdown to make it 18-10.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah, I agree. I think the same thing is true for all 3 games in the midget game. For me, the highlight for this game was watching some kids that I've had the pleasure of watching their career come all the way up, like Noah Gauthier, Dante Blizzard. There's a handful of players that we've watched play, and now to end their NCAFA career, in some cases they're 17 years old, 18 years old in some cases. They finish their NCAFA career with the first ever bowl series, and they go out swinging. Yeah, totally, good point.
Yep.
So Dante's a winner, Noah's a winner. Those guys were adjusting the whole time, and I also want to give a lot of respect to the Eagles coaching staff for the season they put together. They were committed. Mike at OC and Andy obviously putting it together and doing all the recruiting in the off season, and you saw them making adjustments with what they were doing, like on offense, to try to expose something on that Mustangs team. And I mean, they were just like up front too. Like Wayne kept talking about it in the broadcast. He was saying up front, like the North Shore Mustangs were not dominating the line of scrimmage.
Right. And that was something I noticed too. Just the offensive line wasn't getting as much of a push as I thought they would, especially with the lack of a 1-yard sort of safety net.
Right.
But they were impressive. But
yeah. Can we get a little volume in our ears, Steve?
I think he was just turning it down a bit so he can get his mic going.
Oh, okay. No, that's better. That's good.
Yeah.
I mean, I think they put on a good performance and also totally shocked a lot of people with how they were able to hang around with this team.
Yep.
I mean, the Mustangs looked good. But they weren't. I didn't feel they were. I mean, they had their style of play, and it was running through the tackles, and they didn't really deviate from that at all. So I think defensively they were good. I believe that the Eagles were even better this week than they were last week, and maybe against a lesser team we would have seen some more points by them. But so I think they did a great job. I really do.
Yeah, for sure. Nepean came in, and they knew they were the underdog, but they came in and they played a great game of football.
Yeah,
and they almost won it too. But
definitely. I think their defense played really good too.
Yeah, for sure.
They didn't shy away. Just like the A Cup, they didn't shy away. They competed all the way through, and there's a lot of tough football players out there, man.
Yep.
Playing in the snow like that. Well, I want to say also a big thank you to GameStrat for coming out for that midget game.
Yep.
So GameStrat, for those that don't know, is an Ottawa startup. Ottawa U graduates, and they've developed a technology where you can plug into the camera filming the game, or you can record the game from the press box with an iPhone or iPad, and then it actually transmits via Wi-Fi or an internet connection right down to a coach that can flick through the plays and see tendencies and see where people are lining up and get some leverage. So they were out, they were using that. That might have had some, might have given the Eagles some assistance in gap control and figuring out some things. So want to thank GameStrat for coming out, and all the other sponsors too that have kind of helped us along the season. Cora's on Saint Laurent, who's owned by Football Dad, Eli, and also the restaurant that the owner provided us the bus for the A Cup championship weekends with karate.
Our churros.
Churros. Want to thank them. I mean, this has been a phenomenal season, and now here we are, sitting at the end of the year, and what do we have to look forward to now? It's kind of
Grey Cup. Yeah, just 1 second. Just not getting any audio off mine. You want to talk about the Grey Cup? What teams we got in there? And
Grey Cup. All right. Well, Ottawa's obviously out for a couple weeks now, so a little bummed about that. But should be still a good event. I've never been to a Grey Cup personally. So I live just down the street from TD Place right now, and I'm gonna definitely go down and check out the festivities. We've got Family Day on Friday.
Yep. Yeah, we have Family Day at the Grey Cup. We got the poster up here, so as you can see, NCAFA front and center in there. We're going to have a flag football game going on all day. We're going to have skill demonstrations. And I heard last night we're going to have a couple Red Blacks at this.
I think more than a couple. It looked like there's about 15 Red Blacks players that are coming out to play ball with us.
Yeah, from what I heard, obviously the schedule may change, but we got Pruno, Bourassa, Mateus, and Taylor from 12 to 1. Gascon, Bolduc, Baltimore, and Kreiner from 1 to 2. And Latanzo, Lindley, Powell, and Galanders from 2 to 3. We were also supposed to have Jonathan Newsom, but apparently he's supposed to have a baby any day now, so congratulations out to him.
Yeah, excuses, bud. You know,
says the
what's
one
more important, like having a baby or you know, playing some touch football?
But well, I mean, from two guys without kids, I mean, but no, congratulations to Jonathan Newsom. It's going to be a great day when you have that baby, and but yeah, we're gonna have free activities on Friday all day long down on the Great Lawn. Like the poster said, there's going to be face painting, player autographs.
You got to get down there, and it's a PD day for kids.
Yeah, so if you're looking for something to do with the family, something not too big on the wallet, because it's going to be, it's almost the holiday time, so people are going to be wanting to save their money right now to save for presents and trips and all that stuff. So,
but you want to get downtown, you want to be a part of the Grey Cup.
Yep.
There's going to be a lot of people there. Like I said, all the activities that Kyle just ran through. So, you know, starting at 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock on Friday morning. Get down there, be part of the action, and represent football. Get some of your friends out that maybe haven't played football yet, and it should be a great time. We've been building a helmet display to feature all the NCAFA teams, and that's going to be finished. That's going up Thursday, so go into the main concourse around the hockey arena for the 67s, and you'll see the brand new NCAFA helmet display and playing the highlights from the Inter-Provincial Bowl and the A-Cup championships, and our advertisers, of course, are going to be featured in there. So this was a huge successful season, and you know, I couldn't be more proud of this whole organization and the volunteers, the coaches, the parents, the players, the media, everybody kind of rallying together. And now we get to celebrate with a Grey Cup in town. So let the fun begin.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. The Grey Cup got into town yesterday. I believe they flew it by helicopter onto Parliament Hill. Justin Trudeau greeted them. A bunch of other people. I know representatives from the East Ottawa Generals were down there. But yeah, for information on all the Grey Cup festivities going on this week, check out greycupfestival105.ca for more information.
Okay, there you go.
So we're looking forward to that. I'll be down there all day on Friday, so if you want, come say hey. We'll talk football and
meet a couple of the Red Blacks.
Yep, exactly.
So who are you picking in the game?
In the game, I'm going to pick Calgary. I'm going to go
Calgary. Do we have a graphic for that?
Yeah. Well, let's talk about the Vanier Cup as well first, because we got picks on there as well.
Okay, Vanier too.
So Vanier Cup, it's going to be the Western Mustangs against the Laval Rouge et Or. Western crushed Acadia 81-3. And Laval beat Calgary 35-23 for the Mitchell Bowl. So there's our picks right there. I'm going with Laval 28-24 and Calgary 35-27.
So what's our, like, we're going head-to-head this season, and we only started picks, like, around the playoffs, but do we have, like, a total here? I guess not a full total.
I don't think we have an actual total for this year, but that's definitely something we can do.
But we tied this weekend.
We tied on Sunday. We both got 2 right.
2 right.
Because we both picked the Mustangs, and
I picked
you
Myers.
were right with Myers, I was right with Sun Youth. But.
And so, before we talk about the Vanier a little bit more, I want to say Montreal took the first Bowl Series.
Yep. Yes, they did.
2-1.
In our house, 2-1.
2-1 in our house, so it's on for next year.
Yep. Yeah, definitely something to look forward to.
We need to start building some teams in Ottawa so that we can get that back.
Yeah. And this is something that Ottawa football players can look forward to. I mean, with high school, you have OFSA, but St. Matt's is going to be the top team.
Well, no, they're not, because they didn't play anyone here. And they lost to St. Pete's, I heard.
Yep.
So they just automatically went because they registered to play in OFSA. So it's kind of a weak championship, in my opinion.
Yeah, it is, for sure.
And then the Toronto team's always, like, the Eastern representative in high school plays, like, not a very good team there from what I understand. Like, Lord Nelson and the London teams, if they play them at the high school level, like, there's some Metro Toronto teams that they play, but they're not even on the same universe as, like, the Burlington high schools or the London or the Essex high schools. So to me, I don't see it. But
yeah, OFSA is one thing, but I think this is a much better sort of.
But I will say, like, the athletes themselves are amazing. Like, there's some great football players playing at any level. And you know what? Sometimes you get wrapped up, and I just got wrapped up. What it is about is the players playing the game and learning what football can give them. So, good on everyone playing wherever they're playing.
Yep.
We're just trying to build something really cool in NCAFA, and I think we've just kind of hit a milestone with this bowl series.
Yep.
So back to the Vanier.
All right. So
because a lot of these kids that we saw play might be going to the CIS next or the U Sports.
Yep.
So we got Western versus Laval. You're taking Laval. Why?
I'm taking Laval just because I always love their defense. They've been a top program for the past at least 10 years.
So do you think Western's offense will be able to put up the points that they are against this RSAQ representative?
Laval usually has a better defense than what we've seen in the OUA and Acadia. Let's face it, they didn't stand a chance. But
no.
But, I think the defense in Quebec is something that everyone always looks forward to seeing, and I think that they shut down Calgary over the weekend. Final score in that, like I said, was 35-23. And
it's lower scoring games.
Yep.
Like, that's scary because, my thoughts on this is that I've said it all year. I think Greg Marshall has been known to be a choke artist when it comes to big games. He's won 18 Yates Cups, and he hasn't had one national championship. That's hard to do.
Yep.
I think that's hard to not get one out of 18 shots. He probably, this Western team, from what I see, is the best football team that he has ever assembled. And I was on some pretty good McMaster teams that he had put together with Jesse Lumsden, and 4 out of the 5 O-linemen blocking for him were all 10-plus year CFL O-linemen. And we didn't get it done against Laval. So I'm going for Western.
Right.
I want Greg to get this thing. But he has to get it this year. Like, I wonder if he's feeling that pressure. And maybe in the years past, that pressure was something that hindered him.
Yep.
They talk about coaches, snaring up like a snare drum. And then their whole culture changes the week before a big game. He's really got to make sure that he's loose going into this week and that the message doesn't change.
Yeah, and I think you have to be telling your players that as well.
The players need to hear that.
Yeah.
They need to feel like that he has the confidence that he does when that they did when they played Acadia. But what a perfect opponent to play for Greg in he's getting later on in his football coaching career. Yeah, how many more chances is he going to get? Like, I know he's won 18 Yates Cups, so I mean another one wouldn't probably be out of the question, but to have a team and playing Laval took him out against McMaster, yep. And this is the time Greg Marshall has to get it done. So I'm going for Western. I hope they can do it.
Yeah, and I would have to look up Laval's all-time record against Western, but I think I just think they're the better football team.
Yeah, well, I don't think they've played a whole lot because Laval really came into its own in the early or the late 90s, I think, and Glenn Constantine has been the head coach there since, but they've won the most national titles out of any team, I believe, recently in the modern era. So they've won 10 or 13 Vanier Cups. Western has been prolific in the past, but they really haven't. I don't know what the stats are, but they haven't won one at least since the 80s or 70s, late 70s. So we saw them with Marshall go to Calgary with a very good team and a very good quarterback, and they didn't get the job done there. So I don't know. Maybe I'm just going on a rant here, but I'm going for Western. I hope they get it done. I'll be watching. I love the Vanier Cup. Yep. I think it's one of the best football games to watch in the year.
Yeah, one thing I'm only upset about is it's not played in the same city as
they used to do
the Grey
that,
Cup.
right?
Yeah. But oh well.
It moves around. It seems like it's been in Hamilton a lot, though.
Yeah, for sure.
It was in Laval a couple years ago.
Yep. Yeah. And then I remember it was in BC a couple years ago. But quick little research here. It looks like Laval has only played Western twice. They're 2-0.
Yeah.
They beat them in the 44th Grey Cup, 44-21, and they beat them in the 2010 UTEC Bowl. Yeah, sorry, the Vanier Bowl.
Right.
And they beat them in the UTEC Bowl 13-11 in 2010. So 2-0 record going in, but we'll see if it keeps on.
They are a scary opponent when you see them run out with the big Quebec Laval flag and the flashy uniforms. Western better be ready to go, man. They're going to have thick skin, but they've got a great team. There's no reason why they can't win this one. But if they're going to win, they can't shoot themselves in the foot, and Marshall can't get in their head negatively with being changing his whole approach and attitude, and that's what needs to happen.
Yep. All right, and we'll touch on one last thing here. An Ottawa football legend passed away this morning. Ed Laverty. He was a driving force behind the Ottawa Nepean Touch Football League. He was a player. He was an official, leader, builder, role model, ambassador. He joined the league in 1971 when there was only 6 teams, and he grew it up to 108 teams now for over 1,900 participants. His main goal was to get everyone in the Ottawa area an opportunity to play touch football, and he was the president of Touch Football Ontario, helped create Touch Football Canada, created the Touch Football rulebook that's used nationwide now, and just a member of the Ottawa Sports Hall of Fame.
So a legend, certainly, leaving us here today, and condolences to his family.
Yep.
I'm sure there's a lot of people in Ottawa that were friends with Ed, and that's impressive what he was able to do and accomplish.
Yeah, I was talking to my dad earlier this morning when I passed along that news, and he said he remembers Ed. My dad used to play defensive back in that league, and he used to chase Ed around all the time. But even in his senior age, he was able to still outrun my dad.
So maybe there'll be a few drinks opened in his good name.
Yep.
This weekend with the celebration of the Grey Cup.
Yep. Celebration of football across the city, and obviously Ed has a big part to do with that, with us being a big football city.
Yeah, which we are. We're certainly a big football town. Now, looking forward, I mean, we're going to keep this football podcast going all off season. We're going to find some things to talk about. We're going to obviously look at the commitment tracker and see where some of the older NCAFL players are settling and where they're going to sign.
Yep.
I'm sure there's going to be some combines and other activities and one-on-one sessions, but certainly Friday's the place to go next for the family day and check out the Grey Cup.
Yep. And speaking of players committing from NCAFL, I believe we just had one from a former Gatineau Viking. Let me just pull it up here.
Yes.
Maxime Lavallee.
Lavallee. Great player.
Yep. And do you know where he signed? Laval.
Yep. Yeah, good for him. So they only take the best, too.
Yep. So former Gatineau Viking, former Myers Rider.
He's joining Dan Basabombo from the Panthers and the Mustangs, who's a linebacker. But, Lavallee.
Yep.
He was a great defensive back. He played Gatineau Vikings growing up, and then he played Myers Riders. But very, very good instinct for the ball. And, congratulations, man. Maybe we'll see you in a Vanier eventually.
Congratulations, Maxime. And I think that's about everything for this episode.
Yeah, let's wrap that.
Yep, number 28 episode of the HESN Football Podcast. I'll see you guys Friday down at the Grey Cup festivities, and we'll see Jesse next Wednesday on episode 29.
Thanks for tuning in, guys. Please share the episode, comment, and subscribe to the YouTube channel. That's how we're going to drive our numbers up and get people to support us so we can keep doing this and shining light on these great athletes in the city of Ottawa. This is the House Edge Sports Network for me, Jesse, Kyle, Steve, and the whole HESN crew. We'll see you next Wednesday.
Go Stamps, go Laval.
Western.
No.